Hello, everyone, and welcome back to one more episode of Therapeutic Thursdays. And we are on the episode 15th. And today we are going to meet Kanika Mangal, who was also part of our DMT peer group. We were all learning together. And I don't want to talk too much about Kanika because honestly, I don't know too much about her. And we'll use this episode to explore a little bit more about how Kanika got into DMT and what is she doing right now and what prompted her to take up this role as a facilitator. Kanika, would you be kind enough to introduce yourself and talk about your journey in dance movement therapy?
Sure, Dipti. Thank you so much, first of all, for having me. And you both are doing a great job in having very good conversations with people in our space. And I have watched all of your series yet, and
Oh,
I've loved
sweet.
all
Thank you
of
so
them.
much.
Right on with them. And yes, so about me, yes, I was your batchmate, yes, in during the CMTI Dance Women Therapy course. And although like we were from different zones, but we did get a chance to interact sometimes virtually. And it's good to connect with you again. My journey, why I started, like why I enrolled. When I enrolled in this course, actually, the journey started, although like 3 4 years back down the line when I was into influencer marketing career. I was handling business for marketing agencies. Even at that time, I had a strong urge to do something in majorly in dancing space because dance had been some part of me since childhood. And I want, because yes, you always try to find something, okay, what's one thing that you love the most? And dance always came up to me like that. And when I was researching that, okay, what else like in dance like we can do, and dance women therapy came up to me. And there were not a lot of things happening in India back then. There were only few organizations giving course, and I didn't have the courage to leave my career and then start something new. But slowly and gradually, things start building up, and at one moment you realize that okay, that's it. Either it's now or maybe then never. Then that was the time that I took the plunge that okay, let me do this course and see what it means. And at that time I was also very actively working on my mental health. I was working with a therapist as well, and I realized that okay, this could be a intersection point where yes, I want to at least do something. I was not sure that what, but that I was very sure to do something in this space where I came to about it. That's when the journey began. And of course, the expectation of it was very different of what came out. Like our course was not about dancing at all, of course. It
Right.
has very, that's the one thing like first bubble that, burst out, ki, acha, not about dancing at all. And it has changed my relationship with dancing as well, because now like I don't even enjoy using the word dance more. I enjoy using the word movement more. That even if of course like in our industry we can use dance as a synonym of movement, but the cultural connotation of the word dance has. So that has changed and evolved a lot for me now, and the relationship of it has changed. And since then, um, now like where I stand right now after doing that course, like I wanted to look at it from more from a entrepreneurial lens as well. By that I mean uh, I'm not into like proper, I don't want to be a therapist or be a healer, or I don't know like what words I want to say, but I was sure that I want to create a business out of it because of my professional background. So
Right.
that's the two things that I was sure of, that okay, how can I like uh, make it, even if that's it's not a field for, I will say, how can I make a product which is for masses. That was my like idea to it, and that's the idea even right now also I'm working on it. I have built a brand called Flow Mantra. If you both like have followed my Instagram, I also created my website. I also have my Instagram page where I try to uh break it down in a way that okay, how I can tell people about it without making it look like it's very intense.
Hmm.
That's like that's the space that I'm working in. Of course everyone has gotten their own niche and own space, but I'm looking for more of a lens of that okay, for example, like how my mother-in-law will perceive it, how my father will perceive it when I say that, okay, because they are not very much attached to the idea of either healing or personal growth. But how can I make them look like, okay, this could be a lifestyle. Just like a gym can be a lifestyle, this can also be a lifestyle. That's the lens I want to bring in. And since I'm working right now in a small town, Sirsa, here the mindset is again very different. Here people are not anyway aware about how to take care of their mental health. Of course they know about it, but there's no willingness to work towards it. The awareness is still very low. So it has to come up like, okay, what it is giving me. They need to know something tangible. So that's the area, like, I'm still working on. I'm not saying I have like cracked it like that, but I think, yeah, that's the area that I want to build upon. That, okay, how I can like bring this to people who are not into maybe not looking for exactly healing or not exactly looking for working on their mental health, but still accept it as part of their lifestyle.
Yeah, that's I think everyone in the therapy space in India, at least somewhere or the other, is working towards that. Like we are all just salespeople for psychology, right? Telling people
Yeah,
that, oh, this
right,
is everyone needs it at some point of time. So,
right.
Kanika, what has been like your experience, or I should say success rate? And how do you use DMT to change people's minds about mental health or therapy?
Yeah. Success rate. I would like to define success rate that, okay, how many people that I feel I was able to bring this concept to and try it. Okay, I look at it the success rate in that way. Okay. So my experience has been again more from like a small city perspective. And I was able to make people, of course, understand that there are things beyond here. Like it's not important to just always stay there. And that I was able to open that door. I think that was a success rate for me because people don't know about it yet at all. Even if they used to find it a very abstract concept that acha mind body connection, हाँ, they used to link it with yes yoga होता है, yes
Hmm.
हाँ body अच्छा feel करेगी तो mind अच्छा feel करेगा, and vice versa on that way. But yes, the part of majorly the part of DMT that yes, it's a conversation between you and the body, and then yes, you can have that conversation. So that I have seen, that shift I have seen, that even if people are not yet able to articulate, even after attending like 8 to 10 sessions of mine, they can say that yes, something has shifted, even they are not able to articulate it. And I could observe that in their body language. I could observe that in the sense how they look at themselves. Like, I even if I have not worked on their self-esteem, like those were not the themes, but I could still see that they have started respecting their preferences or their needs or their point of view naturally, like as a byproducts of things happening. So I will call that, if you can say that, as a success rate, that yes, this kind of work, not just and I have a tendency of, I think we all do, like we of adding artwork, of adding other kind of fun activities and games, so that we don't rub it on their face that, oh, it's a movement session. I've never called like my sessions, I've rarely called my sessions here movement sessions, because it has always created a more friction than acceptance. So like, how to put it, like, of course sessions is fine, but okay, movement sessions abstract, or dance session abstract, but okay, let's say a stress release sessions, that works for them. They understand, okay, yes, अच्छा stress है,
Hmm.
उसको release करना है, body से बहुत easily connect करते हैं. And then from there I can explore other things here. Okay, opening the doors first, that okay, this is also a possibility, this is also a possibility. But for me, the starting point has been yeah, very easy words, like either for, if I'm working with kids, then it was about, okay, how let's say confidence building, because parents understand that and they're interested in making their kids get involved. But I am not teaching them, of course, confidence, how to speak well in terms of audience, but I am trying to work on with their bodies and how they can feel confident. And the result shows, definitely the result shows in a very different and a very magical way. So I will call it a success in terms of people being curious about it till like 8th, 9th, 10th session. I have worked in medical space, hospitals a lot here, where there were medical staff who was always in an urgent mindset that, oh, some patient will be there, we have to rush. And making them like block 1 hour in their week was a task for me when I started working with them, because there's always some urgency, there's always something. But, and of course, I can't make them, no, don't attend to your patients. You have to, of course, there is urgency, we have to accept that. But the fact that they were willing to come back to the space whenever they can, I will again call that success rate. That even if they don't have the vocabulary to define what it is doing for them, but it was still doing something for them. So that's how I define my sessions as a success. That are they coming back to it, even if they don't know what they are getting out of it? Yeah.
Actually, absolutely, Kanika. I think success is not really the profit versus loss, that kind of calculation, right? It has to be measured, especially in our professions, especially in the groups that we interact. It is always about the feelings of the people, the time that the people value, and that you have seen, just that willingness to come back to the space speaks a lot more than anything
Right.
else. Because if
Right.
you're liking, if you feel that this is the space for me, and that's the success that has been achieved by the therapist or the facilitator who's taking care of that group. So
Hmm.
absolutely. And as you're talking, you did mention about not using the technical jargons and putting that anxiety onto them and bringing that stigma along with it, instead of that calling sessions as stress release sessions or confidence building sessions or body positivity sessions or any other
Right.
words that you're using. I think that's a brilliant idea coming from you, who has been running like
Yeah.
a business, right? That, if I can
Right.
use that. So I think it's a great thing to
Yeah.
learn for all the therapists in our batch or people who are taking it up in the future. I think it's a great idea to start off like that, because India as a country, in fact, the world as such, is not really aware of what dance movement therapy can do and what it
Right.
brings along. Right? That awareness still needs to be built, and it's a great way to bring this awareness. Coming back to one more thing that I think me and Purva were discussing, we should bring in this forum is, how do we bring in all the other modalities into a movement therapy session? And you have been doing that, right? Movement
Yeah.
is not the only way you approach. You are bringing
Right.
in art or music or any other modalities that you are using. Could we throw
Right.
some light on that and how it all comes together?
Yeah. Yeah. So when okay, for me, like modalities, I am speaking from more of like, I try to pick up things from coaching business as well. That, okay, what are
Mm-hmm.
the things that the frameworks that they use? Because, okay, what are they using? Because people are more familiar with structures. I have also
Hmm.
run a few batches online virtually with corporate employees where there has to be a structure. So for structure, like writing, journaling part of it, like assign, I know even I don't like assignments as such, like also giving me, but like people, they are very different kind of people with, and everything works very differently. What I have to break off is first, when I started working, is that just because I feel that okay, movement works, then I don't have to think that movement will work for everyone.
Hmm.
So one, breaking that, like, because initially I was very much attached to the idea that it has to work, it will work. But breaking that first, and then understanding that everyone will not even feel the impact of it, maybe. Or maybe they need more time. And but there is not endless time for me. They have signed up for 8 sessions, and I have to make them at least what they have signed up for, give them something tangible, even if I can't give them 100% tangible.
Hmm.
So I've used different modalities to bring that tangibility. I've tried to bring that tangibility for them. So even if internally intangible things are happening, they are able to see that, okay, today I've done this in the session. And for that, definitely artwork definitely is something that has always like given them a tangible thing, and integrating it with movement, that okay, making art a symbolic representation of how the movement is making them feel. It gives them space to reflect. That reflection, that integration was very important. One is that journaling very easy. People are aware of art. Is still again say that people are, what I've realized, people are more comfortable with art than movement. But then journaling is again way more easier for them because they are able to write words, even if 2 words, even if 3 words. Some people, I would find that yes, writing helped them to, start bringing a dialogue with their, internal voices and putting that on paper. Journaling is one. And then fourth is like when I say coaching, like there are activities, different kind of activities that bring like ice breaking activities or trust building activities. These kind of activities, this again, this, for example, working with corporate employees, and the managers are going to ask that, okay, my ask is to make them cordial with each other, so such kind of where they are doing something together, we are giving them projects, giving them some teamwork activities, doing them together. So combining that where movement, even if, for example, if people are running for a game, even that's a movement, right? But they don't know that they're moving. For them, they've played a game which has an outcome which has to fetch into. So adding, I think when I say different modalities, uh, how to give things more structure. And then when I said assignment, that okay, giving them, for example, a few journal prompts that they can reflect throughout the week, even if they don't look at that sheet. Even if I don't care, if for the next week they come and they said no, we didn't do the assignment, that's fine. But the idea is that they still have something back of the mind that okay, there were some questions in there. It makes them stay in that reflective zone when I am not there with them in the session, and it doesn't have to be always movement for me. So yeah, I've tried to combine these tools as of now, and I'm still exploring, I'm still learning, and I think I will keep learning in this space. I don't want to restrict myself to one space, although I love using movement more, but I think, yeah, I would love to add more and more to it.
I think what you said about just shifting words and basically doing the same thing, right? So running again is a movement. You're going from point A
Yeah.
to point B, or just moving in a funny way. So like I also bring that a lot of times because
Yeah.
dance again becomes very intimidating. The minute people hear dance, they check out. I've seen.
Right.
Like it's always
Right.
like I cannot dance, and this does not only contain itself to a smaller town. Even in a place
Hmm.
like Bangalore, Deepti and I have
Hmm.
had this experience where people think it's
Hmm.
going to be something akin to a dance class. Which
Hmm.
and then we were just so tired explaining, so we thought we'll just start a podcast so people know everything there is to know about DMT. But
Amazing.
it's very interesting because just shifting words, like you said, the minute someone says that, oh, this is an assignment which you have to submit next week, versus this is a reflective journal, and whatever you feel like, whenever you feel like doing it, you can do it, is also giving people a lot of agency. Like I feel
Right.
when there are
Right.
different modalities to work with, people have that many chances, that many ways in which they can express themselves.
Right, right. Yes,
So
and I loved how you talked about agency, Purva. I remember one of the session, I was working with students, like they were second year students of college, and there was one girl who never used to move, never used to interact. She didn't used to like, and she used to just still always come to the session and just sit and just observe. And I initially, of course, I had the urge to make her move, but then gradually I had to quit. That okay, let her be. Okay, let her be. Right. And just towards the end of until the end of the session, she just enjoyed just coming and just sitting, not participating. Sometimes she used to participate whenever she used to feel like. And in the end of the session, she reflected that yeah, that 1 hour I used to feel that oh, I can just be myself. And this and that was enough. I even if she didn't do anything, just creating that space and that agent, and I'm glad I was able to give her that agency that it's okay, you don't have to participate. It's okay if you want to show up. And she just used to sit and actually, and with her body language or with her face, I could never guess okay what's actually going on. Till the end, she answered actually that okay, this was it for you. So yes, that agency in creating the different choices for people, it makes a huge difference. So yes, you're right.
so how do you shift how do you shift these modalities from an offline space to say an online space where
Yeah.
if you have to facilitate a group, and it's
Hmm.
online, how would the activities translate? Because sometimes some activities can only be done in a physical space, and virtually
Right.
they might not make as much sense. So how do you
Hmm.
do that?
One is what I have experienced is it totally depends on the group also that I'm working with. That are people used to being in virtual spaces or not? Like, so the same thing, if like for example, I have tried working with a group of homemakers virtually. That was very difficult because they are not used to being in Zoom spaces. But it was very smooth for corporate employees because they are very much used to, doing,
Mm.
even if they're doing meeting setting, but they were more comfortable with Zoom spaces. So translating that activity also depends on the comfort of the group that I'm working with, and basis on that, that level changes. So definitely, one thing that I always miss in virtual session is that I am not able to make use of my therapeutic presence as much as I can in physical spaces. That's the number one, like, and of course number two, the social connections that people make. But eventually, like after second or third sessions, I've also seen like the social connections making like happening in even the virtual spaces as well. So it was not much of a difficulty that I thought it would be when I actually like tried to translate. Of course, some activities definitely like we can think of that it can happen in a physical space, but there are a lot more opportunities in virtual spaces where I can ask people to bring stuff from their spaces only. I don't have to
Mm.
take the onus of creating. So it became very, people are more comfortable moving in their own spaces as
Mm.
compared to moving in front of people. So that has also changed. Movement is possible. But for some groups, yes, I will avoid. For kids, for example, I will avoid doing sessions on Zoom. That's my personal choice because
Mm.
I won't I that's my personal choice. I don't know if facilitators are doing that. But yes, depends on the group. For corporate people, Zoom is a great for working professional. It is a great way to translate rather better, I would say, than physical spaces.
Mm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think you are talking about a group of homemakers, and I worked with a group of homemakers for around 15 sessions, Kanika. And
Wow.
the hesitancy that came in the beginning, right? Is this even going to work out? What are we going to do
Correct.
here? And first of all, the idea that you're coming to a dance class and not a therapy session, first breaking that, and then
Yes.
over a period of one session, two session, third, fourth, fifth, and by the 10th session, social connections made, movement vocabulary improved a lot, range of motion. I could see a clear difference from session 1 to session 10. There was a huge difference, and by session 15 they were like, we are so glad we attended this session. We attended this
Yeah.
entire series, and we would have never expected that it will go this way. That bubble of, oh, we are coming to a dance class, burst big time for them and for a good cause, for a good reason. So yes, this is for people to understand and realize that you don't have to go to a physical space if you're not, like in smaller towns, for example. I don't think it's
Mm.
as easily available. Maybe in a city like Bangalore or Mumbai or Delhi, there are a lot of spaces where you can go, whether it is group sessions or individual sessions. But in case you do not have access, then please do look at online sessions, and they do work, even at an individual
Right.
capacity. I've seen it has
Right.
worked really well. Even
Hmm.
one-on-one plans and DMT on a virtual connect has worked really well. So, yes.
Yes, I mean, that's not a barrier at all. You're right that yes, virtual sessions is a blessing, definitely. The possibility of it is a blessing. The accessibility of it, that you can do it from
Correct.
anywhere. You can do it from actually anywhere. You're traveling, doesn't matter, you can incorporate it in your schedule. It's very easy, both for the facilitator and for the participants. So yes, the flexibility that it adds. And the
Right.
cost, the capital
True.
investment
Yes.
that's
Correct.
and Yeah, the customer ultimately has to bear the cost of it, right? So, for example, if you book a hall and the facilitator also has to bear the cost, so it becomes more accessible for people. Yeah,
Yeah, multiple ways. I think it's very useful to do an online session, right?
right, right.
Purva,
Yeah.
you wanted to ask something. Do you? No. Then let me go ahead
What?
and ask something to
Please,
Kanika.
please.
Kanika, you mentioned that dance was a big part of your life, but
Yeah.
were you a formal dancer, like a professional dancer before, or classical dancer? Or, what my curiosity comes from a place to understand. Me and Purva come from a classical dance background. And
Yeah.
we had the urge to explore what more. And, dance we have done this way on a stage setup, on a
Mm,
training setup. So the therapy setup is what we wanted to explore. But I
mm,
want to know from your side also,
mm,
why
mm,
dance specifically? And you do
mm.
use modalities of art or other activities, but why is
Right,
it that you did mention that you love using movement, right,
right,
in your sessions?
right.
So what is it that, have you ever reflected on that? What is it that
Of
pulls you towards movement?
Of course. So I think no, I'm not I've not taken any formal training in dance, but I was very active. Like even when I was working in corporate myself, my weekends were always booking a workshop, dance workshop, mostly Western dance forms like hip hop, jazz, dance hall, contemporary. These are the ones I used to enjoy a lot, and. And like going little more back as a kid, I was the one who always enjoy being on stage, performing any kind of annual function hai, kuch bhi hai, event to dance thing, I have to be there. But then gradually, like, you know, uh, what I've realized when I became like, I entered ninth and 10th standard and the pressures of academics started increasing. There was a pushback from my parents to stop participating in these activities and start focusing on my studies more. That's when I realized that, oh, it felt like a sense of loss for me, that, oh, I have to leave something so that I can focus. And that part got lost for a few years where I stopped indulging myself in that. But when I came back to college and after a few years, I joined my the dance society in my college. That again ignited that, oh, dancing gives me a joy that no other space can. And I could feel a sense of that I'm more of me when I'm
Hmm.
dancing than in any other capacity. I think that realization came. I was also performing on a lot of like fest again with a group, and I don't think I was very much I was very naive to understand it back then. But yes, the level of joy it gave me, uh, I don't think anything else has ever given me. So, and I wanted to keep that joy alive. And because then more and more I started working that yes, I'm losing on that joy, that what makes me more me. And dance always used to come up as an answer. So I wanted to keep that alive in me. And that's how that desire to keep finding, okay, and I realized that I don't want to become a professional dancer as well, because I tried again, but then I couldn't bear the financial uncertainty of of it, honestly, because our country was not offering. Yeah, it was very hard for me to sustain and then invest in my dance training as well. And okay, how can I build a career out of it? I was very clueless, and it made me stick that, okay, I want a career, I want some financial stability, but I want to still keep finding. That's when this came up. And since you're asking again, even today, and I think we should be like honest. I want to be honest that, okay, how much financial certainty even this can bring to me. And that realization, like, I have been like very trying to be very honest and realistic about it, that okay,
Hmm.
how much financial, because that's also important part of my mental health, that can I like have a financial sustainable career out of it, understanding the environment I am in, understanding the culture I am in. So I always try to back it up with some things. I always try to have multiple projects so that uh, I don't like create all the pressure of creating finance out of it. And I tried initially, I thought that okay, this might pull off, but I'll be very honest, it's hard to just financially depend on it. So maybe that's the reality even I am accepting with the pinch of salt that, okay, maybe right now I can't rely completely on it, but yes, that's the reality of it.
Yeah, the investment is definitely more than the yield, at least
Yeah,
initially. And I
yeah,
feel that's where the community comes in place, right? Like if we
yes,
all help building each other up, then there can actually be something. There can also be enough awareness and then enough space for all of us to thrive in the field as well. Like right now, there's that non-tangible space is not there where people don't know. And so that's why even Deepti and I thought we'll create at least a way where everyone gets their own voice to say what they
right,
are doing, right? So,
right, right.
yeah, coming back to the modality part, I have a very interesting personal anecdote, right? Like how you were saying that you like involving movement and you want to make everyone move. And so for me also, because I've been dancing pretty much all my life, even though somewhere, I knew that, not everyone is comfortable moving, but then I thought, but this is DMT. You can move however you want. Then why are you not moving? But again, a lot of people were comfortable journaling or drawing. For me, drawing came very difficult. Like it was very difficult for me to express, even to reflect in the art modality was a pain for me. But somehow I also got into it and I realized that, oh, I'm actually a good drawer. I draw pretty well. I'm not like very good, but
Yeah,
it started coming naturally to me. And I keep telling this to people as well. Like same thing might happen with DMT as well. Like
right,
you don't know what you're tapping into. What
right,
hidden part of yours can, come out and flourish. So even that was a
right.
really good, revelation about myself for me.
Right, right. And you know how like giving little seeds to them before like making them completely go into. Like I remember like
Exactly.
we doing sculptures, for example. Let's say sculptures, like doing something with the body. The sculptures are also a creation, eh? You're doing something with your body, but they are less intimidating because they are not movement,
And
right?
not
So
moving. Yeah.
starting there, like making them feel okay, where they are comfortable with, and then pushing it. Like if some people are more comfortable in talking a lot about it and then trying a little movement, then okay, give them space to talk. If they are more okay in, coloring, and as you said that for you also it evolves. Okay, let's start there and see if you can even 5-10% of it is, movement. That's it. But I will never deny the beauty of uh, movement, of how much like more it can create because of the aspect of mind body connection it can create, which other modalities might lack, as per
Yeah.
me. I mean, that's the reason, like, there's always little certain push that even I think we all do, that even if it's okay if you don't want to try, but still please try. Please try.
Our personal agendas, right? So,
Yeah,
yeah,
personal
personal
agenda.
likings, yes.
Yeah.
True.
Yes, it evolves. It evolves. For I think for everything it evolves. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's a great point to kind of conclude this session also today. This conversation of ours, our mutual love
Yeah.
for dance is what brings us together. And we
Yes.
hope that everybody can find a voice with
Yeah.
movement, with art, or whatever you choose. Always keep that voice alive is what something that I would like to say to everyone. And Kanika, that brings us to a ritual that we do at the end of every session, a gesture
Okay.
that comes to you today towards the end of our conversation. Probably to sum it
Okay.
up, or what is your feeling right now in the moment?
I feel like containing my faces like this. Like this. Because it was
Oh,
such a containing discussion. Me seeing you both of you. So yeah, that will be my gesture.
what about you, Purva?
So for me, because we have talked so much about modalities and art and using DMT, for me, it is
A
just,
heart that I can
It's
yeah,
a
it's
heart.
a
see.
heart.
It's a
A
heart.
very
It's a
poorly
heart.
drawn, but it's a heart regardless.
Yeah.
What about you,
Okay. So
Deepti?
for me today, it's kind of those clouds that we draw in our books as kids, right? That's the gesture that's coming up because I think it was very abstract, a conversation, but still had a structure of its own,
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
Kanika sessions, probably, a structure,
Oh,
but
yeah.
yet there's a lot of abstract movement and
Abstract, yes.
thinking that is happening in the background. So thank you,
Yeah.
Kanika, for bringing that to our light and
Yeah.
bringing that silver lining to therapists saying that yes, we can all sustain and may not be the
Yeah.
only means of your survival, but definitely dance movement therapy with something else can give you that
Yeah.
satisfaction also and keep you
Yeah.
thriving also. Thank you
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you,
Thank you
Dipti.
so
Thank you for
much.
creating
And we
this.
had a
Thank you, both
lovely
of you.
time talking to you and hope
Same,
we get to talk to you again very, very soon.
Yes,
same,
hopefully.
same.
Okay.
Thank
Have a
you.
wonderful, wonderful day ahead, Kanika.
Thank you so much.
Bye bye.